Citroen's much improved second-generation Berlingo remains one of the market's best-selling compact vans, offering a usefully large payload capacity and a maximum load volume of up to 4.1 cubic metres. It's now smarter looking than before and gets some extra high-tech, but the main news lies beneath the bonnet with a fresh range of clean and frugal Euro 6 Blue HDI diesel engines. The idea is to rejuvenate this model's buying proposition, and on paper at least, the prospects look good. As ever, motive power for this van comes primarily from a 1.6 litre diesel engine, but there's quite a choice when it comes to the way you get it. From the launch of this revised model in mid-2015, this French brand continued to offer the older Euro 5 75 brake horsepower and 90 brake horsepower HDI versions of this power plant. But the company's future sales emphasis clearly lies with the more advanced Blue HDI versions of this unit. There are two. The 100 brake horsepower variant most will want, offered with either a 5-speed manual gearbox or the brand's ETG6 Auto, or a pokier 120 brake horsepower model that uses 6-speed manual transmission. We'd say it's well worth stretching to the Blue HDI engine, and not only for its greater efficiency. Torque, pulling power through the gears, gets quite a boost with the new technology. So while the older Euro 5 75 brake horsepower and 90 brake horsepower HDI variants can only manage 185 newton meters and 215 newton meters of torque respectively, the Blue HDI 100 model boosts that figure to a far more usable 254 newton meters. Something you'll really notice when pulling out to pass that swaying Arctic up front. For what it's worth, acceleration from rest is usefully rapid too, the Blue HDI 100 model needing 11.8 seconds for the 0 to 62 mile/hour sprint, making it a second faster than the 90 brake horsepower HDI variant. The top speed with the more modern engine is 101 miles an hour. We should point out that you don't have to have diesel power in your Berlingo. From launch, this French brand chose to update its aging 1.6 litre VTI 95 brake horsepower petrol unit to Euro 6 status, so that engine was initially offered in this improved model for the few operators likely to want it. An even rarer sight on our roads is the clever all-electric version. The look of the Berlingo van has been smartly updated in this post-2015 guise, with the bumper, radiator grille and daytime running lights all now being more carefully integrated to give the front a smarter appearance. The neater bumper and radiator design has been created to sit lower and wider as part of a look that Citroen hopes will underline the robust strength of the vehicle. As ever, there are two Berlingo body styles to consider, this standard L1 version and the longer L2 derivative. Avoid entry-level trim and your Berlingo will come with what the brand calls its Extenso modular cabin, a configuration which allows the outer passenger seat to be folded flat so that longer items can be poked through from the cargo area. Now, the other benefit of the Extenso package is that it includes this useful middle seat, so that a third passenger can be accommodated if necessary. Now, it's features like these that'll make this van an easier proposition if you're needing the kind of mobile office functionality that many owner-drivers now seem to want. These people will probably like the idea of stretching to a top-spec model like this one, which features what is probably the main change in this improved model's cabin, the 7-inch touchscreen and upgraded DAB audio system. Time to focus on practicality. So, as usual, let's start here, at the business end. As expected, the rear doors open through 180 degrees. And once you've lumped your items over the relatively low 584mm loading lip, you'll find a cargo bay that's very comparable to the one you get in an equivalent Ford Transit Connect, Renault Kangoo or Volkswagen Caddy. Even in this standard L1 Berlingo model, it's big enough to swallow a couple of Euro pallets, thanks to a useful 1,230mm of width between the wheel arches. That's payload permitting, of course. On that subject, payload capacity ranges between 641 kilograms and 846 kilograms, depending on the variant you choose. That's competitive with most rivals, though there are some that can take up to 1,000 kilograms. The result is that as a starting point, an L1 spec Berlingo can swallow 3.3 cubic metres. With its extra 248 millimetres of body length, the L2 version can increase that figure to 3.7 cubic metres. I say as a starting point because provided you've avoided entry-level trim, your Berlingo will come with the clever Extenso modular seating system, which will enable you to flatten this outer passenger seat right into the floor and fold down this middle passenger seat so that you can push longer items into the cab. That enables you to increase your loading length to 3,000 millimetres in the L1 model and 3,250 millimetres in the L2 version. As a result, total carriage capacity can be up to 3.7 cubic metres in the L1 version and as much as 4.1 cubic metres if you go for the lengthened L2 body style. On to running costs. The advantage of choosing the more modern Blue HDI diesel engines becomes readily apparent here. Though the efficiency returns of the older Euro 5 75 brake horsepower and 90 brake horsepower HDI units aren't too bad, expect 56.5 miles to the gallon on the combined cycle. In a Blue HDI 100 variant, you can expect 67.3 miles to the gallon on the combined cycle, thanks in part to an S&S stop-start system that cuts the engine when you don't need it, stuck in traffic or waiting at the lights. Blue HDI technology has an even bigger effect when it comes to CO2 efficiency, the figure falling from just over 130 grams per kilometre with the older HDI engines to 111 grams per kilometre if you go for a manual Blue HDI 100 model. Van designs have long shelf lives but are intensively developed throughout their lifetimes, a process perfectly showcased by this much improved second generation Berlingo. You get very class competitive payload and carriage capacity figures, plus there's the flexibility of the Extenso modular seating system and an unbeaten set of running costs if you opt for a Blue HDI engine. Add in a comfortable ride and the widest choice of factory-built models in the class, and you've a strong business proposition. Quite simply, it delivers more of what really matters.